Now what if I actually want it to be quite realistic, like have some real texture on it? It's quite easy. Let's go ahead and click Ctrl O and pick the tile roof. Now there are two ways to do this. Well, there are many ways, but these are the two ways that we're focusing on today. Is actually, you can just click this and move it to wherever you want, like this, for example. Such ways you can just go ahead, rotate it. To make it rotate properly on an angle, just hold shift. It's gonna tick 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 until it reaches the 90 degrees. You see it says 90 degrees, and then you can make it smaller, as we said, by clicking Alt and Shift, and this makes it go smaller. Now we can actually just go ahead and do this. Let's just not hold the shift on this portion. Let's just do this right there, like that. Now this is something rough. Let's go ahead, select with the marquee tool and duplicate by clicking Alt and Control. Now let's go ahead and select, based on this, only this portion. And Alt, by holding since I've selected this, I double click, it closes the selection. But what if I want to remove this edge? You see it's not quite clean, so I'm gonna actually go to the marquee tool, click Alt to engage the subtraction tool, and deselect all of this. See, it goes now as a straight line. We can go to this one and select only this. How do you do that? Now if I click delete, it's gonna remove whatever I've selected. So how do I invert the selection? I want to select everything but this. I can actually click Ctrl Shift and I. This inverts the selection. Now we are selecting everything except for this area. Now I can click delete, and there you go, we've deleted everything except for this part. This part actually, we can now duplicate it by clicking Ctrl J, Ctrl T to transform. If you right click while transforming, you can see that there is something called flip horizontal. You can do that and move it. And you have another portion. This portion we're gonna make it darker by going to Ctrl L and make it darker. Now you know that when you get something in shadow, you lose its vibrance. You know, you don't get it so saturated. So how do you remove the saturation? Make it a bit less saturated. You can actually click Ctrl U. Now this Ctrl U is actually from here, Image Adjustment and Hue Saturation. Ctrl U. Hue Saturation, just click on the saturation button right here. See, it makes it less saturated, and then go for darker. There you go. You have the same but darker. Now let's duplicate this again, Ctrl T, and take it to right here. Now let's move it up a bit. If you want to move it a bit, you can click V for move, and just by clicking the mouse pad, the directional pad, up, down, left, right, the arrows, you can actually nudge it up a bit to your direction. So you can pick it, for example, something like that. Let's now hide it for a little bit. Pick this area, the area that we don't have anything in it, and close it off. Show this. Again, Ctrl Shift I and delete. Now you have your own portion right there. Let's go ahead and do Ctrl L to make it a bit darker. Ctrl U to make the saturation a bit less saturated. And click OK. Now we can again do Ctrl J, Ctrl T, flip, vertical, take it down, Ctrl L, and we make it brighter. Something like that. And there you go. Now this is more realistic. Now since we have a basic rooftop that we want to create, we can actually just take all of these items except for that, of course. You can just duplicate them, put all of these in a group, and again take them all and merge them down. Now you have merged layers, and you have these just for backup. Let's hide this. Now we have this part. Let's hide this also. I want to duplicate this. Let's duplicate it, put it right there. Now you see, when you start with one thing and you create it properly, the rest of it is not really hard. You can just go ahead and duplicate, copy it here. There you go. Second option. Now what if I want to make this shorter? Easy. Control T, make it shorter. There you go. Control T, Alt and Control. Sorry, Alt and Alt Control. Now if I want to make it move horizontally, quite horizontally, you hold Shift with them. Alt Control and Shift. Quite frustrating for your hand, but you know, everything works. Now what if I want to create this? Same concept. Control J, Control T, create it like that, put it right there. Hide this for a bit. How do you want to cut it? I'm gonna actually cut it from here. Go for the lasso tool. From here to there. To somewhere like that. And I believe something like this. Now this is the general thing that I want to create. I'm gonna also add this to it and then delete. You can see how it looks. Of course this is a bit messy, you need to clean it up. It's not supposed to be touching here. You can just select this and then delete this part. Of course this is not centralized. You can see where you're gonna have some issues, but you know, this is the general concept of it. You're gonna need to work up on the cleanup here and there, you know, just generally, and do it a bit more centralized. Like for example, you can even cut this portion if needed. If you make a mistake like that, you can just go ahead and click that, then Control T, stretch it up a bit to reach the end. And then if you want to fill this gap up, you can just go ahead and do that, something like this. Then Alt. When you're selecting and moving, you can just click Alt and deselect this, and there you go. You have a portion. Again, quite a touch up, but it's worth it, in my opinion. Now, of course, this entire area should be bright. So again, you can just go ahead and select this area, for example, and mark it a bit. Control J, Control T, flip horizontal, and go to right here. You can see that this is much better. This is the general way of how you create this.